here. See, I got my message that I always get. I love it. So Auntie is here. This is she's she's my real auntie. So I'm not just saying that. Auntie said that she is here in YouTube. So I'm assuming that can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me on YouTube. Let me know. And then I'll go ahead and keep going. Yay. Okay, so I will not try that little scheduling in YouTube. I will not try scheduling in YouTube again. So I gotta go. I gotta start over. Here we are, Kingdom Business, starting a coaching ministry. We ran into a bump, but that's what we do is we overcome obstacles, right? That's what we do. Welcome again. Welcome those of you that have been listening and bearing with me. Oh, is that Rum? She reminds me of somebody we had worked with a while ago, but I don't know if that's her. But welcome, Rumby, and welcome everyone else that has joined. Of course, Auntie is in the building. I'm so glad that you are here. And we are definitely talking about overcoming fears. I just had a technical difficulty that we had an obstacle that we had to overcome, but the spirit of fear is not here, baby. It is not here. We are walking in power. We're walking in love. We're walking with a sound mind. Because how do you get through kind of bumps like that? You just work through it because Christ is with you. You got support. I had support here. I know Elevate with Vern. She is in Clubhouse right now. She was trying to help me. My husband's back there helping me. So the team, they got my back. I appreciate you. So bear with me. You had to hear this before if you were, this is round two, but bear with me. About us, we're a faith-based life coaching and training organization. We offer faith-based life coaching, mentoring, and support groups to help believers heal and also to develop confidence to pursue their purpose. What is our purpose? Is to provide resources. That's why we have the workbooks. That's why we do the classes and things like that. Practical support to help believers develop that emotional resilience so that you can be anchored and stable in the Lord and you can be focused. Our vision is to and our hope is for people to be healed from trauma so that you can develop that God-centered confidence. So stop being focused on yourself and focus on him and what he can do in and through you so that you can live that purpose-driven life that he has called you to live because you have been called with a purpose and you are shaped for kingdom business. So our mission is to encourage you, to empower you and inspire you as a kingdom citizen so that you can achieve goals despite obstacles using a holistic coach approach. So we're talking mind, body, and soul, right? So of course you can go to the website to get more information, but that's what we are about. I had to introduce our team. So you saw them in action a little bit. Oh, Pastor Micah's here. Hopefully, I don't know if I got Queen Kai. I'm not sure if I got you earlier, Key. But I am Coach D. I am the founder. My husband, Minister Charles, Pastor-elect Charles, he is definitely my go-to, my first go-to when people are just primarily focused on, they just want to be delivered from some kind of demonic influence and something is going on and they know there's demonic activity, then I would definitely send you to him. Minister Ella Coleman, she is my mentor and she kind of covers me with whatever I do. And if you want to know more about the people that I'm introducing, you can check out the other master classes. At the top, hopefully let me know that link at the top in Clubhouse. Let me know if that is working. Otherwise I'll put another link up there to make sure that people can get to the slides because that's why that link is there so you can get to the slides. And then Siobhan, she is, let me tell you, we have been at this for a while now with Siobhan as a team because, you know, I started in ministry a while back. As far as supporting believers and things like that. But Siobhan and I have been working together for a little while. So I'm so grateful. But she is the first person, the first coach that I refer people to if I'm not available. Maria, the purpose coach, I mentioned earlier about the retreat that we have coming up for women, actually, that particular retreat. I'm really excited about because it's like a getaway and that thing that you need. That's posted in the Facebook group if you're curious. I think she has one spot left. Tashina the Encourager. She's a purpose coach, and we have worked together as well. She's participated also and poured into people with the Soul Detox Fast that we do together, because deliverance is really a lifestyle. So another fast is coming up as well. So you'll learn more about that. But why are you here? We're back to this again. This is where we stopped before. We're created by God, built for a purpose, and a change is coming. A change is coming for you, for sure. So make sure that let me check the chat to see if that the link is working. Yes. Okay. I just wanted to double check that that link is working. So those that wanted to see the slides, because this is way better if you can actually see the slides of what I'm referring to. But though some people don't necessarily need slides to get the point. So I get it. So about me, I'm Coach D. I'm the founder of More in You Coaching and Training. I'm a restoration and leadership coach. I'm a best-selling author as well. Big shout out to Dr. Monique because she did a collaboration. I also have some other books. There's more. Okay, here we go. We're back. So, but yeah, I am a youth speaker and educator as well. So I work with ages 16 to 21 primarily. I am also a biblical counselor. Let me go ahead and refresh this because I know it went out for YouTube. Um, so let me go. And there's nothing that's stopping me. You hear me? Nothing. Okay. So I'm just gonna, I still gotta add my slides back up here again. This is, let me tell you, when I tell you this never has happened where this many, I'm like, what is going on? But it is, this is not the routine. But you know, worse things have happened. So here we go. Thank you for being so patient. It's going to flow eventually. Eventually, it will flow. So now you know who I am, right? Okay. So, what are you going to learn today? How to align your coaching ministry with passion and purpose, empowering you to make a positive impact on the lives of others through meaningful coaching relationships. Establish your coaching ministry. That's going to save you some time and effort of navigating the initial stages when you just really know step by step what you need to do. Understand the common challenges faced in starting a coaching ministry and receive tips on how to overcome and boost your confidence and resilience, because that's really what you need. Because if this kind of thing where, you know, all these bumps and stuff, I've been coaching for a while. So, and I teach for a living. So this kind of stuff doesn't bother me as much. But if you're a new coach, it definitely can get you a little frazzled. But remember this time when it happened to me. If it happens to you, you are not alone with technical difficulties and things like that. So the first part, there's going to be 3 parts. Welcome. I think that's Apostle Tony. I'm not sure the title. And then also welcome Queen Joyce. I can't remember your title. I know that you have one, but welcome in Clubhouse. But passion and purpose, we're going to have 3 parts. And if you like a self-assessment, then you want to stick to the end, because there's going to be a self-assessment as far as your readiness to become a coach. So Or if you're already a coach and you just need to, assess yourself and where you're at, then you'll enjoy assessing yourself at the very end as well. So passion and purpose, the connection between your passion and purpose. Let's talk about that first. So this is typically, most of you probably already know this, but I definitely think it's worth saying again. The things you are passionate about are not random. They are your calling, because sometimes people are like, I just like this. I just like that. I'm just that type of person that people just listen to me. I'm just that type of the person that where they really want to share how they feel about what's going on in their lives. Like that person that usually coaches are the people that people like, I usually don't tell people this, but, and then they go on. So let me know, have you ever experienced that in the chat where people say, I usually don't open up like this. I usually don't tell people all of my business like this, but I feel comfortable with you. I feel safe with you. And then they share. So remember that life is short. So if there was ever a moment to follow your passion and do something that matters to you, the moment is now. So sometimes you've been that you've been called to this for a long time, but you're just like, I don't know if I want to do it. So remember that God does not waste anything. So make sure that you are moving forward and preparing for your calling. So this is what I do encourage you to do. Take out your journal and start reflecting. So here's some reflection questions about this is what you would do to prepare for your calling. What do I want to accomplish now and in the future? If you don't know, then you ask God, what is it that you have placed on my heart? What is it that you want me to do in this season? If you don't hear anything right away, that's when you would fast and pray about that. What will I offer, create, or change that might have an impact on the world? Same thing. If you are not sure, then you want to seek the Lord about that and not expect it to be just like that. That you get that answer, but you will not let go until he bless you kind of energy is what you want to give toward that if you're not sure what the next step is. So maybe, like, okay, I know that I'm called to coach. I know that this is something that God is calling me to, but what does that look like? I am not sure. That's why the fasting and the praying is so important, because when I tell you, I have been a little bit of here, a little bit of there. And the more that I fasted and the more that I prayed, it became more clear to me exactly where I needed to be. So when I started out as a purpose coach. So I was all about purpose. I was all about destiny. I'm still about purpose. I'm still about destiny, but God has taken me to another place. Then I wanted to incorporate career in that, because that was actually, I've been coaching on my jobs along the way as well. So I was a career coach. That was what I was doing when this was like over 10 years ago. Then I did some I would say it was like some Christian coaching with when I worked at Harvest Prep. That was Rod Parsley. I don't know if y'all know who Rod Parsley is. That was his church. I wanted to coach teens when I was working with, like the youth summer programs and things with job coaching with them. So when I found out that I was a coach, I'm a coach everywhere. So I'm a coach in this way, on my own private coaching. But then I was also a coach on my jobs as well. And I was always asking God questions like this, like what's my target market? What environment is the best environment for me to coach? I was always seeking God about that. And it wasn't clear to me at the very beginning, should I stay in this lane? Then I moved into relationships a little bit. And then now God has me in the place where it's still about purpose, but what he has revealed to me is that when it comes to inner healing and when it comes to deliverance, that is what coaches need, and that's what people need to be able to operate with that supernatural power that they were destined to operate in. So what I found is that people have struggled so much, and that was a part of one of the things that I knew that I was really called, because I wanted to be like Siobhan is, also working through school for therapy. I wanted to be a therapist. So initially, so I was just kind of all over the place trying to figure it out. So you don't have to know exactly what it is. You just got to go out there and serve. So that's how I got to this point, is I was out here serving people. So there's going to be obstacles. You saw the technical obstacles when I started, where you're like, okay, I don't feel inspired right now. I've got this going on in my life. I've got that going on in my life. What should I do? You're like, well, oh, there's a whole lot of purpose coaches out there now. There's a whole lot of coaches doing A, B, and C. So do they need another coach? They're not you. So you have to overcome those kind of mindset obstacles, those unrealistic expectations for you, thinking that you got to be perfect, like it's got to be, everything's got to be right. Some people would have had a whole meltdown if they have experienced what I just experienced with, all the technical issues. And it doesn't have to be that way. Some people, they fear risk, where they're like, I don't know if I want to put the money into it. I don't know if it's going to work and all of that. That's why right before this training, I did the one about fear, overcoming your fears so that you can step into your ministry, because that's what holds you back a lot of times. Being too practical. I've heard people say that they just have to have, they got to have the right mic, and they have to have the right this and the right that, or they can't do it. And that should not be the case either, because you have to work with what's in your hand. I was just talking to my husband about this recently. You got to work with right where you are. I'm clapping because I mean that thing. You got to work with right where you are. The tools that you have been given by God, that's what you work with. Too logical, too caught up in your head. All of these things are preparation for your calling when you're assessing yourself. Like, am I just stuck in my head? Because God doesn't want you stuck. He wants you to be walking with him with peace, right? So all of this is a part of what's preparing you, but what's holding you back from your calling. That's how I got into the restoration space, because it's the spiritual wounding that's holding people back from their purpose. So remember, I said at the beginning, I was all about purpose, but I'm finding like, oh, well, people are struggling with their purpose. It's not so much that they don't know their purpose, but they're struggling with it because of these spiritual wounds. So they've lost their faith in some cases. They start doubting. They got that strained relationship with God. So how are you going to get direction from God when you have a strained relationship with him? That's going to be a problem. And what happens is your soul is impacted. So you begin to develop, some people have developed paranoia. They've developed some suspicions where they can't trust anybody. They're anxious, they're depressed, they're angry, where they're just going off over the smallest things in their house by themselves, just even mad at themselves. Isolating, also shame, where they're always saying, the person that's like, I'm sorry, what are you sorry for? Don't worry about it, it's okay. The relational strain, these things can impact your soul as well, where you struggle with trusting people. And I will tell you, if you are wanting to be in ministry, you have to be able to trust the Lord Jesus Christ first and foremost. But he's going to require you to make new relationships. He's going to require you to put yourself out there. He's going to require you to actually trust him like you've never had to trust him before when it comes to ministry. So these are the things that will hold you back. If you find that, if you are a person like me, where, my mama told me not to trust people, right? So if you're a person like me, at the very beginning, It's hard to, get out there and network and form these relationships. Then this is, your preparation is working on the trauma within your soul. And that's why we have soul therapy coaching, counseling, and coaching program, to help people with that, because I know there's a lot of people called to coaching, but they really can't get into it because they're struggling so much with trusting other people. I know I've heard a lot of women talk about how they can't trust other women as well. And then also, this could lead to disillusionment, where you have a loss of enthusiasm. You're cynical about things. Oh, that ain't gonna work. Everybody talking about they a coach. You're cynical. You're disengaged from church activities. You don't really even want to be involved in different things. You don't want, you just don't really think it applies to you. You're like, oh yeah, they're doing that thing over there. So he does want you to be connected, to the body of Christ, right? He definitely wants you. Can everybody hear okay? Let me pause and stop, because I feel like I got a little bit of background, but it might totally be just me. Okay. All right. It looks like everybody's good here. All right. Well, let me go ahead and continue. The fruits, and see, I really would love for you to see my tree. So you're not able to see my tree, but I can talk about the tree. The fruits of stress and trauma. If you're in Clubhouse, you can always go back to it. Definitely, if you are on the YouTube Live, definitely like it. If you're on Facebook, I wasn't. Yeah, I think I'm streaming this to the main page. Then definitely like it. What that does is it will send it out to more people. So if people are viewing it, because I have quite a few videos that are pretty high quality, and people are viewing it, but they're not necessarily liking it, then it will not push it out into the YouTube streets, right? So you want to make sure that you do that. The fruits of stress and trauma, the roots of stress and trauma is what I'm about to talk about now. So these are the things. This is how the soul trauma happens. Is that you at a young age you were shamed, you might have been humiliated, you might have felt worthless at a very young age, and sometimes this happens into your adult life as well. The spirit of fear was in you, and you didn't have the coping skills to be able to overcome that by yourself, and there wasn't anybody teaching you. Trauma, there may have been some things like abandonment happening. So I know I was left a lot by myself. Seems like it was the culture back in the day, like just leave kids. You shut the door. I'm locking the door. Don't you open this door to nobody. And then she just didn't come back for a while. So where you're just trying to figure it out, you might have been lonely and hurt and confused, sometimes emotionally, physically abused, felt hopeless, felt abandoned, felt rejected, felt like you really just couldn't do it, just utter despair. What happens when all of these things, when you're forced to do things that you're not ready to do at a really young age, you begin to develop the spirit of pride. And that spirit comes as you're like, I'm going to do it because I got to take care of me. I got to take you. So you're not necessarily giving credit to God and giving honor to God for giving you the tools to take care of you, giving you the mind to take care of yourself, but you're saying you feel like you got to do it. I. So anytime you find yourself saying I too much, then the spirit of pride has penetrated your soul. And what does this lead to? It leads to you trying to self-medicate because you got all of these issues. So you're trying to perform your way. So you got to get an A in every single class. If you don't get an A, you're having a whole emotional breakdown. You are having body image. You, especially if somebody told you you had a nice body, whether you're a male or a female, then you're trying to work on that to make sure that you get that approval that you're looking for, right? That acceptance that you're looking for. You might get caught up in prescription drugs in some cases, or illegal drugs, just to escape the pain. Some people, I don't have this on my slide, but some people struggle with wanting to get a whole bunch of tattoos and things like that, because they're so numb on the inside where they just want to feel something. Some people struggle with alcohol. Some people struggle with smoking, pornography, lust, sex, where they just want to forget about it all and they just want to feel good because they're so tired of feeling so bad. So they just, even if they're not having sex, they go from one relationship to the next relationship, just trying to feel better. And some people are like, I've been there, done that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So then they begin to get too busy. So they're so busy where their mind just doesn't even have a chance to rest. So then people like that, they end up having dreams where God has to speak to them in their dreams because they can't even hear what God is saying to them because they're so busy. So you can have positive distractions too from your purpose and your calling. You could be too much into fitness. You could be, just chatting too much with people on Clubhouse too much. You're not necessarily learning, but you're just, on social media. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but you're just kind of checking out. You could be watching TV. Even the last one I would say, these are self-medicating methods of what people do to deal with their stress and trauma instead of really facing it. Then they'll just, I'll go to church. But then these same people are at the altar every single Sunday. Or these same people, you go to church so much, and then other people that don't know the Lord, they were like, well, I can't tell. What's the problem? Because why are they saying that they can't tell? Because you're still suffering from divorce. You're still suffering from these financial difficulties, a lack of confidence. You're struggling with poor health, poor self-esteem, feeling sorry for yourself. Some people are violent because they're so angry. Some people are in utter despair, suicidal thoughts, all of these things. These are the root of stress and trauma. And this is what's holding people back a lot of times. From actually walking in their calling because they're struggling with this. But what God wants is to plant some roots in you of worthiness. He wants to plant faith in you. He wants to plant that patience within you. So what I was just experiencing at the beginning of this video, where I was dealing with these technical issues, that was the fruit of the spirit, the patience to be able to keep going through that instead of getting mad and fussing at the computer. And even as things would, how my computer was not plugged in all the way, so it went dead, things like that. These things are going to happen in ministry and they're going to happen in life, but you have to be prepared for these things. You have to be prepared to have self-control, to be able to regulate yourself so that you can be full of love and full of joy, and you still show up in the same way. Because you have cultivated those gifts. You have studied the word. You've meditated on the word. You're worshiping. You are having that prayer time. You're fellowshipping with other believers. So I do love that about Clubhouse, where there's believers that are fellowshipping. So some people don't have a church with that aligns with them. So they found that on Clubhouse. So I absolutely think that's amazing. And then when you have those roots planted by God, you can show up as your authentic self. You don't have to put on a show. You don't have to go ask, did I do good? Because you know that you're always approved by God, right? And what does this manifest into? It manifests into your healthy marriage, your prosperity, the confidence in the Lord Jesus Christ, and the power that he's put in you. You begin to be obedient, right? You begin to be full of joy, love, and hope, and you have this good health, and your ministry is birthed and your ministry grows, right? And you do all of this with peace, not being overwhelmed, not feeling stressed out, not being confused, and not knowing what you need to do. But when you are rooted and planted in God, then you are restored. So that brings me to the next slide. Restoration leads to a willing spirit. So if you're a person that's like, I know I was one that I was called a long time ago when it comes to ministry, but I wanted to do it this way instead of doing it the way that God told me to do it. And in my case, and I think many other people, you need to Ask the Lord to restore to you the joy of your salvation, and so that you can have that willing spirit, so that you can do what He wants you to do, how He wants you to do it, right? So this one right here, you might benefit from checking out the slides in YouTube, because I'm reading from those slides. I don't know if I welcome Queen Clarissa, but welcome. The symptoms are that are coming from self-will, or if you're being God-centered. So I love assessments. So if you actually want to see this, so that you can go through it, then you can go to the YouTube slides so that you can see them. So symptoms of self-will: that you're in your own will, you are getting upset, you are telling endless stories in your head about what you want to do, how you want to do it. You're justifying your actions to yourself and others. Okay, well, I only did that because, that's how that starts. You're making a lot of plans. When I tell you I made so many plans, they're all in my journal. Oh my goodness. This was self-will, right? You think you can, or you should handle everything by yourself. So you don't know how to ask for help because you're dealing with the spirit of pride. So therefore, it creates a barrier when it comes to ministry, because you are struggling with the trauma that you refuse to give to the Lord. You argue with or reject the suggestions of other people. So when people try to give you support and they try to give you feedback, then you either reject it and say, well, I didn't ask for your opinion, or you just argue and go back and forth and you start defending yourself. That's a symptom that you are struggling with your own will. These are, and I'm not asking anybody to respond. Like, I would love to do that, but these are things that I just want you to keep to yourself. Okay. So you can respond to this if you want to. Signs that you are turning your will over. You are calm, right? You are not plagued by stories where you're just going over and over different things that have happened in the past and things like that. You feel no need to justify your actions, so you don't feel like you got to prove it to anybody. You are focused on the next right thing. You're focused on the next right thing. You're open to help and suggestions, and you can let go and take suggestions without fear. So I knew that I really was still struggling with self-will, because I have a friend that she just loves sharing her opinion. You have some people are overly opinionated, and some people just like to share because they know that it helps other people, and they know that their opinion is valuable or whatever. But I was like, girl, I don't want to hear it, But when you begin to ask people, well, what do you think about that? Or can you tell me how, what are your suggestions for moving forward? Like, I often ask people, I do polls in the Facebook group. I'll have to link the Facebook group down there for those of you that are not in it, and that maybe you're in Clubhouse, because I usually don't do these on Clubhouse. I usually do these just in YouTube or just in Facebook. But we're at part 2 now. Purpose in action: how to start your purpose-driven ministry. So this is the part where you might want to share, because this is the part that some of you have been waiting on, because you're over here like, I already know what my purpose is. I already know that I'm called. I want to see what she got to say about how do I start this thing. Well, I want to see if I'm on the right track. So first of all, let's talk about what ministry is, because you got a lot of coaches out here, but they are not necessarily in ministry. They're in business. So what is ministry? Ministry is using whatever God has given you to serve Him and to serve the needs of other people, right? So some people, they're just not, they wouldn't necessarily classify, and I'm going to explain the differences between the life coaching ministry and then the life coaching as a business. So the reason why this is called Kingdom Business, because it kind of merges it both together. So what is a life coaching ministry? Life coaching ministry is the primary focus is that faith-based foundation. So everything that you do, I know at the very beginning, I was like, I don't know if I want to necessarily be I did a lot of career stuff. So I was like, I don't know if I necessarily want to be just a faith-based coach, because I didn't have this healing part developed yet. I didn't even know that I was going to go into that space. Say, can you turn that down a little bit? Um, I don't even know if you heard me in the background. I'm getting a little distracted, but I did not know that I was going to go into the healing space. So I wasn't really sure that I was going to go into the healing space. I thought that I would go just into the career space. And if you just want to be, if you're just in the career space, then that could just be your business, right? So for the longest, it was not a ministry. So I was a coach, but I was not in ministry, right? So that being said, your primary focus, if you are in ministry, is to integrate coaching with matters of faith, spirituality, and personal growth. That's what your primary focus is. So now I'm definitely in ministry versus some of the things that I've done before. Your goal is to help people to align their life goals and challenges with their spiritual beliefs and their values. So your goal is always to direct people right back to God, right? All their goals, all the challenges, right back to God. Your clientele are people that focus, people that are focused on God as well, and they share the same faith and the same belief system. So for the longest, it really didn't matter what you believed in. I could still serve you because I was doing more of the career coaching. I was teaching people about their purpose, but I also was doing a lot of career coaching. So that's how that worked together. Would you mind turning that down for me, please? Okay. What is life coaching as a business? Life coaching as a business, the approach that you're taking is integrates coaching techniques with biblical principles and also spiritual practices. Life coaching as a business, sometimes you can still, like when I started, I still integrated my faith. I can't take away my faith, but my focus was not the biblical principles at all times. So if I'm coaching somebody, um if I was coaching somebody in the past, when I wasn't doing it as a ministry, then it would just be about more about from the business aspect. So I wasn't always directing them right back to God. I was maybe giving them some strategies, and then I was also coaching them on those strategies. So um, life coaching as a business. Let me go back. Life coaching as a ministry, because I think this slide says, what is life coaching business, when it's really, we're still talking about ministry. You may offer coaching services for donations, because some people think I am so crazy for doing that. So I have offered, I don't always offer it, but here and there, I have definitely offered services for donations, especially at the beginning. Will, like, say when I do these classes, I'll ask for a donation instead of getting people to sign up for master classes and charging, like, a lot of times they'll charge you 197, 497, things like that. I'll ask for a donation at the end of the class. That is the ministry. That's that ministry framework if you're doing coaching as a ministry, right? So let's talk about it step by step, because I know some of you, hey, Coach Kelly, and Yahara Queen, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are actually, there are slides in YouTube. So if you want to see the slides, then go over to YouTube so that you can see the slides, and you can also do that after the fact. It looks like everybody is good to go in Clubhouse. I didn't want to miss any of the comments or anything. Starting a coaching business step by step. First of all, and Siobhan, I don't even know if she's available to talk, but establishing your niche. We have had so many conversations about this. This has been the tip that I would give you to establish your niche is get out there and do it. So you pray, and you get what you get from God, and your clients will tell you what your niche is. I've had somebody tell me that I was going to function. You're going to teach people how to heal. I was like, what? He wasn't necessarily a client. He was serving as my realtor in that moment, but he knew what I did, right? And me and Siobhan and I talked about this. She's giving the thumbs up, because if you are a coach and you're not sure what your niche is, you are not alone. Okay. I'm not even going to ask you to answer that, because I know so many people struggle with that. I was going to do, actually like a live or something like that, with some tips about that, because that one is on all the different things that you can do. So put it in the chat if you want to share the different niches. Like if you're already a coach, I would love to know what your niche is, because I know I'll give you one. Siobhan is a relationship. That's her niche, right? Is relationships. Mine is in healing, but I just told you before, it was in careers before that. So some people are in, let me see, anybody else? Yeah, I don't know if anybody's already actively, some people is in business. There's different niches. So what you have to do is visualize. This is step 2. And if you get like, that's why I'm telling you to go to YouTube, so that you can keep track of these, because otherwise you might not say, now what were all those steps? So establish your niche, visualize your client. So I know Siobhan, again, Siobhan and I, we've gone through coaching programs where they have taught us how to do your avatars and things like that. I think we both struggle with them. Welcome, Queen Lakeisha, and she's not here. She just accidentally clicked. But then you got to choose a coaching model. So how are you going to deliver your services? What is that process going to look like for you? You've got to create your unique selling proposition as well. So how are you going to, there's still sales in this. So whether you're in ministry or whether you're in business, you still have to sell, right? You've got to make it legal as well. And you've got to decide with that. So I know I've gone through a lot of like, okay, am I going to do an LLC? Am I going to make it a nonprofit? Am I going, how am I going to establish it? So I decided not to do, and you can let me know if you want to know more about that as far as the legal side. I decided not to do the nonprofit route, but I'm still in ministry. And I'll explain more about that, but leaning towards more of that S-Corp route, because it's a social enterprise, instead of, it's not a nonprofit necessarily, but it's definitely not solely for profit. So when I think it was through that master's program that I did, I made that decision of like which way I wanted to go with that. Do you decide whether you want to get a home space or an office space? A lot of coaches, they work from home primarily, but you can have an office space if that's what you want to do. You set your prices, and that can, depending on, this is step 7. You set your prices, and then you choose equipment and software. Like, what do you want to use for this program and that program? You even have to create your online presence, and step 9. So creating your online presence, you've got to set up your different social media sites, because that's how we do a lot of the branding. And then you create your brand and your logo in step 10. So I'll run these quickly. 1, establish your niche. 2, visualize your clients. 3, choose a coaching model. 4, create your unique selling proposition. 5, make it legal. 6, decide on working from home or the office. Set your prices. Number 7. Number 8, choose equipment and software. Number 9, create your online presence. And number 10, create your brand and logo. So if you do have questions on any of those things, then definitely let me know, because all of those parts was a lot. So that's one of the most valuable things within the training. If you really came and you're like, I really don't know how to establish my coaching ministry, I just gave you the steps. Now we're going to talk about coaching ministry within a church. So if you wanted to establish your coaching ministry within your church and serve that way, then what you would do is, 1, assess the need. And your pastor is going to tell you that. So the first of all, I would, when you feel led to do that, set up a meeting with your pastor. When you sense that there is a need for coaching, your coaching ministry, you can also start surveying church members to gauge interest, whether that's something that they need in the ministry. So it could be a marriage. Here we go with the niches again. It could be marriage. It could be parenting. It could be spiritual growth. It just really depends on what God is calling you toward, how you are uniquely shaped. Define your purpose and focus. So state the mission and vision for your coaching ministry. So that slide that you saw at the very beginning, you're going to have to do that for your ministry as well. Decide the specific issues and topics that you want to focus on addressing through coaching. So the more specific you are, the more focused you are, the more people will be able to connect with you, because they will know what you're about and they will not be confused. Because I know when I started, I was, some of the things I was saying, they were really confused about, but they wouldn't tell me that they were confused because they were trying to be polite. So I'm trying to remember. I said something, it was something about purpose. Oh, I think I called myself a personal development consultant. I just had all kinds of, but y'all listen, this was like 2010. So we didn't have all these coaches out here. So I didn't have any models necessarily to go with, except like Tony Robbins, and I was not him, right? What's the next thing you're going to do? You're going to promote and launch. So you can communicate the launch of the ministry through church bulletins, newsletters. This is the way to get yourself out there. Social media, announcements. You can highlight testimonials from those pilot coaches. Let me make sure I didn't. You're going to do that as well. The people that you've worked with. So what you want to do is you want to get out there and serve, right? You're going to get out there and serve, even if you feel like you're a little off. When I say a little off, like you know that you have what it takes, but you just are like, you're willing to go another direction if necessary, if the Lord leads you. That's what I mean by that. Because you want to get out there so that you can provide those services. You are also going to support the other coaches that are in ministry with you. So you're going to provide ongoing encouragement to your community, and also supervision for other coaches. Once you get enough experience, then you will supervise and support other coaches, and you'll host training sessions, retreats as your ministry grows. So all of those ministries within the church, they could call themselves coaches technically. Now we're getting to really overcoming. This is where the real work comes in. We're getting to overcoming these obstacles while you're starting this ministry. So this is the part where, let me see if, okay. So this is the part where you're going to start doing some self-assessment stuff. So are you ready? So these are 3 questions I have for you. Are you called? You will put a yes in the chat if you feel like you're called. Are you aligned? What I mean by aligned is that you have dealt with the stress, the trauma, the stuff that I've talked about early on. Are you aligned with Christ? Or that means that you're trusting the Lord with all your heart. You're not leaning to your own understanding, but you're acknowledging him in all of your ways so that he can direct your path. Is that where you are? Are you prepared? Are you equipped? And some people will say yes, yes, no. Some people will say yes, no, yes. But if it's yes, 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 then you know that you're ready to take that next step, right? So what this is the stuff that I don't know, Siobhan, give me a thumbs up if you can talk a little bit, but what kind of preparation is necessary? Because we talk about this all the time. What do I really need? Okay, she can talk. So I'm going to share, I'm going to pass the mic to you so that you can share, give me some feedback on this. Oh, somebody said yes, yes, yes. Okay, Yolanda. Okay, sis. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I'm going to pass it to you after I go over this. What do I really need? You need coaching skills. So, have you obtained the proper training and coaching techniques and methodologies? Are you equipped with the necessary coaching skills to guide individuals effectively? So, there are skills to this because sometimes people are like, well, what's a coach? Why can't I just go to my pastor? They helping me. Like, I don't get it. Or, but there are actual skills that you use as a coach. You need to also have biblical knowledge as well, because if you're a starting a ministry, that's different than if you are just a coach in a marketplace. And I talked about that earlier on. So, do you have a strong understanding of your faith's teachings and the scriptures? Can you integrate these teachings into your coaching conversations, right? Because you need to be able to just naturally flow into it. Queen, she's not in here anymore, but she was in here earlier, and she was able to just naturally drop a lot of different scriptures without dropping chapter and verse. It was just a part of her personality. You know, that's how it needs to, the biblical knowledge, that's how it needs to be for you if you're a coach, right? Emotional resilience. Are you prepared to handle sensitive spiritual matters with care and respect, so that you're not the person that's going to go run tell that, go, doing some things that are just unethical. I had a lot of training like this in my day jobs, because in my day jobs I was a coach for a living, not just as an entrepreneur, but this is just what I did. So I'm going to check in with Siobhan. I'm hoping that people can hear you a little bit on, let me turn it up, on YouTube as well, because I know we talked about this a lot. So I figured you might have something to say about it.
Okay, just so clear, you want me to explain what we need for, tell me again.
What do I really need? So if I'm preparing to be a coach, what is really all that important? Yeah. I'm sorry, I was steady talking. What do I really need? So if I'm preparing to be a coach, then what do I need to be a coach? So I talked about coaching skills, biblical knowledge, emotional resilience, but I know you're often very passionate about things that you feel like coaches don't get, like new coaches.
Okay, absolutely. And depending on who you talk to, some people will tell you, and this is not necessarily wrong, but it doesn't fit for every single person. Sometimes people take the route of saying that if you want to be a coach and you're looking for a niche, you pick something that you've actually been through. And so with Deidre and I, like she explained before, it was hard for us to niche down because the gifts and things that we have is pretty broad. Okay, and so it doesn't just focus down to one thing really, really specific. We can get specific, but we can help people with a range of things. So decide whether or not you want to be really niche specific, or if you want to be pretty broad. Sometimes it falls under life coaching. I'll say don't get hung up on that, because even if it's something that's pretty broad or narrow, you have more than one set of skills usually. And so you can definitely use that as a leeway, maybe the basic thing that you're going to help somebody with, but it doesn't have to be the only thing. Some people do use that as the only thing that they go by, like, for example, someone who's a parenting coach. Maybe they only work with people who are dealing with children. Who are parents and dealing with children with something very, very specific. Another thing is when you're preparing to be a coach, Deetra did say this earlier, make sure that you are called. And you might be saying, okay, how do I know I'm called to be a coach? I'll say this as well. Don't get hung up on the titles. As you can see, yes, I know how to coach. Absolutely. But I'm not a coach, right? I'm a strategist. There's different realms. So don't get caught up and get discouraged if God tells you that you are maybe not exactly a coach. There is a space for you to do coaching. And then as believers, we need to put him first. Ask him what it is that you want, that he wants us to give to his people, to give back. That will help you out. Deetra did talk about your passions. When you're trying to figure out what can I help people with, your passions. That is a great start. A lot of times what you're passionate about is going to be what you are called to. And then keep in mind that I know I'm called to believers. Not everybody is called to believers. Some people are called, can still be a believer, but they're called to people who aren't believers, or maybe they're, mixed. Sometimes they're called to people that's in the church. Sometimes they're called to people that's in the marketplace. But really deciding, also, don't get caught up in different equipment that you don't have right away. Sometimes people will sit there and tell you that, you need to get a website. Yeah, a website is cool, but don't let that stop you. And just remember to be confident in things that you've done for years and years. A lot of us have been coaching for free. So before I was doing this professionally, I was coaching for a long time throughout, my different career and different settings. People would come to me and I would be able to act as a coach. Leadership, things of that nature. And so just remember that the experience that you've already had, don't discount that. That can actually help you in deciding what type of coach that you are. And remember, you don't have to be just one type of coach. You can help people with a few different things. So I'm going to pause right there. And Deetra, let me know if you need me to elaborate a little bit more. But I'm going to pause real quick.
Yeah, everything that you said was definitely extremely valuable. And I think it was great advice when it comes to people that are just starting out and they're like, oh, I got to have the website, I got to have all the things, and it gets overwhelming and then you just want to stop. So you got to be careful with that. Like that was the part that really resonated with me, is like where you're like, okay, I got to have this website. The reason why it resonated with me, because there was a point that, I paid people to revamp my website. I went and got photos done, like professional photos. I did all the things, but that did not necessarily make the ministry grow. At the time, I didn't even look at it as a ministry, though. I looked at it as my business. And that did not necessarily make my business grow. The only thing that makes your business grow is doing the business. So if you're not doing the work, then it's not going to grow, right? So now we're to the part where I know I would have been waiting on this particular. Yolanda said she was a strategist. I didn't even know what a strategist was until I met Siobhan. So that's a new direction that I think the coaching industry is going into, because before, years ago, we barely knew what a life coach was, and now it's strategist is like the new life coach, but there's just not as many people because it's a specific thing. And we talked about these in other classes, so you'd have to look at the other classes as far as the strategist is concerned. But there's specific things that will call you as that distinguish the differences between a mentor, a life coach, a strategist. So if you've been on the other, I know a couple of you have been on the other classes, that you probably know the differences between those. But should you become a coach, this is a self-assessment. If you want this self-assessment, please let me know, and I'll put it together for you in a document and put it in the Facebook group. So you got that spiritual conviction. Do you feel, and you can type yes in the chat as you go, should you become a coach, self-assessment. Should be one of the last things that we're going to do. Spiritual conviction. Do you feel a strong calling from God to guide and support others in their spiritual, emotional, or personal growth journey? So if that's yes for you, put that yes in the chat. Put that yes in the comments if that's yes. Training and education. Have you pursued relevant training, education, or certifications in counseling, coaching, mentoring as required? Because all of it is kind of, I don't have strategists there because a lot of times they go through coaching training. But all of it is kind of similar, but it's just a different approach. It's your modality and the way that you want to approach serving your clients. So put a yes in the chat if you have pursued that. And maybe you're in the middle of it, then you can put a yes in the chat for that if you're in the middle of it. Biblical knowledge. Are you well versed in scripture and able to integrate biblical principles into your guidance? So as you are supporting, coaches guide. So a lot of times people want to give advice, but coaches are not giving advice as much as they are guiding you to the answer that's already within you. So it is a trap if you go into giving people advice. I know that a lot of coaches a lot of people that you see that are coaches give a lot of advice, but that is not really the main technique with coaching. With a strategist, if you're using the coaching modality, then you are guiding them to the answer, right? That's why you ask a lot of thought-provoking questions. And some people just want you might need a strategist if you just want, like, get to the point, tell me what it is. They'll give you a strategy, but a coach is not going to do that. But they're going to guide you with biblical knowledge. So you can put a yes in the chat or in the comments that biblical knowledge. Passion and motivation. Are you genuinely passionate about helping other people navigate through challenges, grow spiritually, achieve their goals? If you're passionate, you're motivated, then you can put a yes in the chat about that. Sometimes people are not that passionate about it. They just know that they're called because they've gone through so much. The passion will come. But sometimes if you're going through a lot, it's hard to be passionate in that moment. So you need to heal, and then you can develop that passion as you have gone through that healing journey. Resilience. Are you emotionally resilient enough to handle the challenges and difficult situations that might come up? So if you are a person that you quit everything you start, then you're not quite ready to be a coach, right? Ethical guidelines. Are you aware of what they even are, right? You can put a yes in the chat or a yes in the comments if you are aware of these ethical guidelines. There are ethical guidelines and professional standards people should be able to trust. Say you're a coach and you getting clients from Clubhouse, then you shouldn't be opening up rooms talking about throwing name dropping and everything. So-and-so is my client. That's an issue. That's a confidentiality issue. All of those things, but there's more to it than that, but that's just an example. If you didn't know, like, oh, I didn't know they had to keep those things private, then you also should be sending that over with your contract or your, as well, so that your client knows your confidentiality policy as well. Continual learning. Are you committed to continual learning and personal growth to enhance your skills and knowledge? So the people in here, definitely, because that's why you're here, so that you can continue to enhance your skills. So I know I've spent tons of money when it comes to always taking a course, always reading a book, always listening to a video. That's one of the reasons why I do the YouTube videos, because I listen to so many YouTube videos. And your genuine desire to serve. Is your motivation centered around serving others, or is it about gain or recognition? So if it's centered around serving others, then you're ready for a ministry. If it's just about gain and recognition, then maybe you could still do a business, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a ministry because that's just not your focus, right? You have to also have these emotional boundaries. So can you establish healthy emotional boundaries? So it looks like there's a little typo on the slide, but these emotional boundaries, you really need these emotional boundaries in place. Otherwise, your coaching will bleed into your personal life. So you have to be able to separate the two. So you got to be able to shut it off when you need to shut it off, right? And deal with your family deal with your friends and your loved ones. I know sometimes I catch Siobhan, I catch you doing it sometimes too, where she goes into coach mode, she don't even notice it. So I try not to do that all the time. So sometimes I'll be on here and I'm trying my best not to be in coach mode, right? And just, hanging out and talking. Because you got to have those emotional boundaries. Otherwise, people will continue to pull and continue to pull. And then you are trying to pour from an empty cup. So you got to be careful with that. Integrity. Are you committed to maintaining a high level of integrity? We talked about this with ethics a little bit before. Confidentiality and also respect for your clients or your mentees. Because just because they're your client does not mean that you talk down to them. It does not mean, it means you're very careful about how you treat them. Siobhan and I, just before this call, we were talking about coach hurt. It's hilarious because if you're a coach, you've definitely hired a business coach, or you definitely need to at one point or another, or maybe you've got some mentoring or whatever. And sometimes they're not always acting in integrity. And when that happens, then you got to heal from that. So it can impact your ministry and or your business. Spiritual growth. Are you personally committed to ongoing spiritual growth and deepening your relationship with God? So the one thing I think one of the reasons, transparent moment, that's what I do. One of the reasons why I didn't want it to be a ministry and I wanted it to be more of a business, because I was struggling in my spiritual walk with the Lord. So I wasn't necessarily living it, the life that I would need to live to be a faith-based coach. So I was just coaching, but I wasn't calling myself necessarily a faith-based coach. Even though I was full of faith, I was struggling in my faith. So I was just doing it in, more of the career coaching aspect, or trying to do it in a different way, because it requires spiritual growth. So if you are committed, you can type yes in the chat, yes in the comments. Yes, I'm committed. Faith integration. Can you integrate your faith into your role while being respectful of the diverse beliefs and backgrounds of those you're guiding? So there's going to be some people that don't believe in the same doctrine. So they may believe in a Lord Jesus Christ, but maybe they don't believe that women have to wear, this is some religious stuff, but it's just the example that's coming to my mind, that women have to wear skirts to their knees every time that they walk into a sanctuary. I don't know. That is a silly, Siobhan, I got your message. So I'm going to, when we're done, which we're almost done, then we're going to address that. So you've got to be willing to not be judgmental. I'll put it that way, because they don't have to have your same doctrine in order for you to serve them. I hope that makes sense. And you can always ask questions, because I think we're going to leave maybe 30 minutes or so for questions, or 20 minutes so that you can ask questions if you have them. Then since we're in Clubhouse and we're going it's going pretty fast, because I usually these are 2 hours. So it looks like we're just going to be like maybe 15, maybe 7 minutes or so, and we'll be done. So mentorship. Do you have access to mentors or experienced individuals in the field who can provide guidance and support? That is up to you to make sure that happens. If you're doing this on your job, then your job kind of helps you with that. But when you're doing this in ministry, say, I know at my church there was nobody, so I had to go out and find somebody. And my mentor, she is not a life coach, she's a publisher. But she's a publisher of Purpose Magazine, and I'm also a writer, and she has the coaching skills. Community. Are you a part of a supportive community? Whether it's a church, professional network, counseling association, there's a coaching association. That's something that you can do. Active listening. Are you skilled? Some people think they can listen so well and they struggle. Are you skilled in active listening? That is a skill. allowing you to understand your clients and mentees' needs and concerns. So if people often are telling you that you're not listening, you might want to go back and, work through the art of listening. Active listening is not just sitting there mute, not saying anything and just letting them talk. Like there's an art to that. So I don't have time to go into it, but a lot of people think they're great listeners when they're just able to be quiet when somebody else is speaking. That does not mean they don't know that you're necessarily even listening when you're doing that. Effective communication. Can you communicate clearly, compassionately, and effectively? Because if you are saying things and it sounds cute, but people don't know exactly what you mean, then that's a problem. Because sometimes you'll say something and people are kind of like, now what? So you got to be careful about that, about clear communication and self-awareness. This is something I talk about every training. Are you aware of your own strengths, your own limitations and biases that might impact your role? And sometimes you get that by networking and connecting with other people that are in coaching as a ministry. They can give you that feedback, because you don't really want to go to people that are not doing it in ministry, right? Welcome, Queen Kelly. You want to go to people that understand what you're doing, because they are a coach, they are a mentor, they're in counseling, somewhere in the field, right? So what are your next steps? So if you did this self-assessment and you're like, I got some areas I need to work on, then what you can do is you can use what I like to call this breakthrough method of renew, restore, and rejoice. I will break this down probably when we start our partnership program, because there will be a partnership program coming up for people that just really want to do this work. And you want to, like, say you've looked at all the other classes, or not all of them, but you want to do the work that we've been talking about. But you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to sign up for a whole program. Then I'm going to create something for people that just want to, work on some of the things that we're talking about. But you'll get a little more added support. So what you want to do is you want to find the right training, the right mentor, and the right coaching. I'm not saying that I'm it, but that is what you need to do. When I say the right training, if you can find somebody that's very similar to you. If you're thinking about your niche and you're like, you know what? I think if I was a coach, I would be just like so and so, Siobhan. I'll just say Siobhan, since she's like, I think I would be a strategist. Then maybe she would be somebody you reach out to for mentoring. Or if who is it? Queen Yolanda is in the room. So maybe you're like, I think, I'll be just like her. Or I'll be very similar, because we're all uniquely shaped. I'll be similar to her. Then you might want to reach out to her, just like I did with my mentor. So we're not just alike, but we are a lot alike. So she knows how I think, so she's able to support me and kind of gently guide me when I'm a little off. And then she also lets me make mistakes. So she hears me out. She's amazing. But then you also say you've already got your breakthrough. So you like, I am restored, I am healed, I am delivered, honey. So say that's how you're feeling. You're like, I've been in training for a while. I've been mentored. I've actually done a little bit of coaching. Now you need to plan to launch your actual ministry in God's timing. So you got to be careful with the timing, because God's timing is perfect. There may be some things coming up in your personal life where it's just not a good time to be taking clients, right? So you got to be mindful of all of those kind of things as well. And praying without ceasing. That's what you definitely have to consistently pray. And if you want support in that process, and you felt like at the very beginning, you're like, I'm listening, but I know like God is revealing some things to me. God, if you're saying, God is revealing that I need to work through some things, then you might be interested in the soul therapy group that is starting in October. So what we're going to do in that particular group is we're going to take a small group of people, it won't be any more than 10 people, and you're going to learn how to get to the root of your pain. So when I talked about at the beginning where there's all these things that can be rooted in you, and there was that tree, if you were looking in YouTube, you would see the tree, and that the way that your tree, the roots within your tree, should be the fruit of the spirit. It should not be a lot of pain, a lot of neglect, a lot of abandonment, a lot of rejection. That should not be in your roots. So if it is, then it's holding you back from you walking out your calling in ministry. So instead of starting the ministry, I think Siobhan was about to talk about this. So this is perfect timing. So instead of starting your ministry, you're struggling with starting a ministry because you got so much trauma, unhealed trauma and wounds. And what you don't want to do is bleed on the people. That's what you don't want to do. So if you know you're called to be a coach, but you're like, I'm not quite ready because I know I got some stuff that I need to deal with, then the soul therapy group would be for you, because you're going to be able to get to the root of what that pain is. And even if you don't know what the pain is, because you know that you don't feel strong enough to really face it, then what you would do is still join a group like this, because we're going to get to it. We are going to get to it. So how do you know that you're trying to run away from it? We talked about that again when that tree, when I had the tree up, and I was talking about how you try to escape it, or you're watching TV, you're eating too much, you're hanging out too much, you're never quiet, never a quiet moment, that kind of stuff. Because what we want to do is make sure that you're completely healed so that you can show up to people in the way that you need to show up. So you can inquire, you can send a message, and we'll send you the form. I know it's in my link tree, but if you can't find it, you can send a message, or you can just comment soul therapy, and I'll know to get back with you so that you will know when we're starting that and the details of that. So just giving you a heads up for that. And the coaching and training programs that are available, welcome, King Michael. We've got mentoring and leadership. So say you know that you're called a coach, and you want to be mentored by one of us, then you can reach out for that. The way that works, you can inquire about it. The way that works is you fill out a form, and then we get back with you, and we just set up a prayer call. And on that call, we talk about some things that have been on your heart, and we talk about how that we can serve you, and we pray about that. So at the very least, I want to be able to pray with you, even if you're like, okay, I'm not sure if this is the right move, then we're going to pray about it. And I'll support you in any way that I can, for sure. I just talked about the soul therapy, counseling, and coaching. And I also have a soul therapy, actually, like, what is soul therapy? If you're like, what is that? I do have a video on that. So it takes you through a lot of the soul wounds and all of that. The last thing you could do, if you're wanting some support, is the faith-to-faith partnership. So this has not been officially launched yet, but it is coming. So it'll be like, we'll talk about that later. So if you are interested in the partnership where you're going to learn that, like a breakthrough approach as far as how to deal with the different things that have been coming up to just get strengthened, then the faith-to-faith partnership, that would be ideal for you. And that's a nominal donation. The soul therapy, counseling, and coaching, that's going to be some deeper work. And then the mentoring and leadership, that's going to be if you are really ready to do this. So if you were saying yes this whole time, like, yes, I am ready, then that would be the program for you. Or we're definitely going to pray with you with that. So at this point, checking to see, I don't think, okay, so she's Queen is in the launching phase. Okay. Yeah. The launching phase, it does require some preparation. But you don't want to prepare so much to where you never launch because there's always so many things to be done. And there's a learning curve, you know. So definitely praying for you. But if you have questions or if you have testimonies, then you can feel free to raise your hand and come up at this point if you're in Clubhouse. If you are just watching from one of the streaming platforms, then type your question in the comments, and then I do answer and respond to every comment, right? But you can find us on Instagram at More and You Coach, Facebook, More and You Coach, and then we've got the More and You group on Facebook. Those of you already on Clubhouse, you already know what it is with that. And then if you found that this was valuable because you were like not really sure how to start your coaching ministry, what the differences was, you can always Cash App More in You. Because these kind of trainings, they really do off of platforms like this. So you'll find as a coach that it's always a blessing to give, because you'll start doing this stuff as well, and you'll want to be supported. So if you want to support anything that we're doing, or if you've ever received any value, then you could do Cash App. I know I don't prefer PayPal on the website, but you can technically do that. I don't have Zelle up there, but you can do that as well. So I do appreciate you. At the very least, then I do encourage you to at least go to YouTube and like the video, so then that way it gets out to more people. Or if you know some people who are coaches, or you think they should be a coach, and you know that they're believers, then you can send the video to them. At the very least, then I would encourage you to do that, just because we all want to help each other. That's why I'm doing this, because my primary goal is to help and to support. And then secondary is also to continue to build monetarily, so then that way I could do more. So I can throw retreats and give scholarships if I need to do that. I haven't done this as much because I'm limited on my time, but I also used to do we did vision board parties. We did a paint party. We did some things just to kind of support. So I like to have events and things like that. So all of those things kind of cost, or not kind of, they do. So that being said, feel free to support. And I thank you for your giving and appreciate you giving to the ministry. But I'm going to actually stop the stream here. And I'll go into Clubhouse to hear what Siobhan had to say. I would record you, but Siobhan, I'm not sure if they could hear you on YouTube or not. So I know they can hear you in Clubhouse. So I'll do that. But I appreciate all of you. If you made it to the end, especially if you're on YouTube, definitely say something like, I made it. If you made it to the end, if you are on Clubhouse, definitely let me know you made it, because we have been in here for a little bit of time talking, but it is always my pleasure to serve. So always remember, no matter what you're going through or what you've been through, there's always still more in you. So make sure you stay connected with us, so that you find out when we're launching all of these things in October.